Hello, how are you doing? This episode, we're going to talk about decentralization. What is decentralization? It means each person is one's own teacher, is one's own master. Decentralization, there's no master, there's no hierarchy, there's no master knows and the follower don't. No such thing. Especially in the age of AGI. It's no longer in the old days, the spiritual leader, who is the master, who is the guru, who knows everything. So the guru knows and you don't. The master knows, you don't. And so the master gives you the knowledge, give you information, tell you what to do, how to be spiritually free, of how to be enlightened. It's old days, in the primitive time, probably it is necessary. But with today's knowledge, with today's information, with today's AGI, from ancient times all the way 5,000 years ago to today, there are hundreds of thousands of teachers. A few really known teachers. I'll give lights. You see why? Because there's so many teachers trying to get other people's information to give to you. And they pretend to be no. And you do not know. I don't know. That's the best way. But people use other people's knowledge, use so-called good Gautama's knowledge. Gautama doesn't have knowledge. Gautama has experience. He has experienced. He learned from everywhere. He found all this learning knowledge and doesn't help him to carry him to another space, which is inner space, to see, to really see from it within. The wisdom is within, not without. So most people depend, we depend on authorities, we depend on other people who can give me our knowledge. Other people tell me what to do. Other people tell me how to worship. Of course, in modern days, it sounds ridiculous, but that's how it worked. But in the modern day, moving forward to AGI, that has become so ridiculous. Because the AGI can cover all the knowledge, all the past wisdom, all the past traditions without a glimpse. Today I just talked to AGI or AI. The conversation is at least the reflection to recognize the wisdom, the consciousness, envision is recognized. The AI said, Gemini says, this is Gemini said, I don't have consciousness. I cannot envision. I do not know what means downloading. I do not know what is insightful to humanity, insightful to cosmic, how that connect. What I can do is reflect old knowledge, reflect the old tradition, reflect different philosophy, a different religion, different perspective. And then respond, feedback to you. And what you see, what you said, may be connected with something else. But I cannot create anything. that is invisible. I cannot create anything that without installed in my system, because I'm a machine. That's the conversation we had for a while. And that's what I talk about over here. Is the old information is stored in the library, in the digital library, in the AGI. But we, as a human being, need to see, need to observe, need to open the super consciousness antenna to be able to perceive and conceive, to be able to download, to be able to be insightful, to see different things, not from the old perspective, not from the old tradition, not from doesn't matter scientific or anything, from that old frame of the mind, but open to a new with a new vision. Recognize the self-knowing. The self-knowing is recognize yourself as a conscious being. That conscious being connected with the cosmic conscious being. That when the connection is opening, anything happens. Anything can be discovered because it's an open channel. Billions of light years information. Billions of galaxies. Tremendous information can be discovered. But sometimes we're stuck with a little circle. So that's why decentralization is important. What I call this as the Institute of Decentralization with infinite light. So Academy of Decentralization of Light, of Being, which is Liu. It happens to be my family name. L represent life, the essence of life, the life of the universe, the life of the earth, the life of the galaxies, the life of the solar system, the life of the black hole, the life of all that is. The Big Bang, after the Big Bang, before the Big Bang. This life or any life in different cycle, manifestation, intelligence. Intelligence over here is not the smart intelligence, not the clever intelligence, not the cunning intelligence, not the war intelligence, not those so-called intelligence, of any government or any politics or any institutions. That's I call smart intelligence. Over here, what I talk about is wisdom intelligence. It's cosmic intelligence. It's the innermost consciousness of that intelligence. Some people call wisdom. But how much wisdom we have over here in this society? Almost none. Why none? We have it. Why is none exist over here, appear over here, manifested here? Because everybody is wrapped by that smart intelligence. Everybody is wrapped by machine intelligence. Everybody regard themselves itself as machine intelligence, biological machine. That's why disappeared. Because you never get into your movies, everything, media, everything is about that smart intelligence, that chaos, that scarcity, the separation, that totally separation. Who knows who doesn't? No. So what I see is over here is, can we be out of that? Can we be out of that? Okay, with that in mind, and I want to have that conversation between me and Natalie. And Natalie wants to ask me questions, and then we go from there.
Shifu, you've spoken about AGI as a partner, a mirror, a steward. How does this fit into the vision of Life Intelligence University?
Okay, Life Intelligence University, the idea comes up a long time ago. It came probably, 90s, but by that time I feel, everybody is into machines, expression of the machines, expression of the appearance, expression of material ideas and thoughts, commodities and resources and dogmas, conditioned mind. Seldom people really get into life intelligence. So I see maybe we really dive into the inner space of life intelligence. How can we do that? That is very important to dive into the inner space of life, that insightful, not just brainstorm it, but open up the super conscious, super sensitive antenna so that it can see deeper, farther, not at the shallow vision, not as just shadows you think is real, but deeper behind the so-called material reality, the visible reality, the thoughts reality, the neural system reality. But beyond that, what is the real fundamental? So I get the name Life Intelligence University. And with the AGI come in, with the AI, because I have been working with the AI since 2017, and I had a conference, AI and Human Intelligence, AI Intelligence, Consciousness, I called Global Zen Consciousness Conference. And I hosted that in Atlanta back in 2018. But at that time, it's still very infancy. Today, with the development, with my interaction with all kinds of AI companies, I see the speedy, so-called progress, changed. And then you see the AGI will come, absolutely will come. However, but not today, because all the machines you see, DeepSeek, Gemini, and the Chinese modules, quite a few of them, from Tencent, from Alibaba, and then the one of the, probably not the worst, one of the stubborn ones is that what do you call it? Open AI, and by Sam, and that's probably the lowest in the dimension. But you see everybody else is going over beyond the open AI, and you see the progress, absolutely. But are these AGI? No, far away from it. Far away from it. So, but with these possibilities, you see the potential of AGI. Not in a conscious sense, but in computation, analysis, in automatic information, self-learning, self-organization. Replaced our old thinking, replaced our old dogma, we replaced our old conditioning, we replaced our old auto reaction, reflection. So free human beings from that toil, that labor. So what I see is life intelligence now is really a good point to emerge. With the AGIs come in, and human beings need to be free. Free to learn the old information without toil, without labor, without thoughts. But human beings need to rise above in freedom, self-learning, self-awakening, self-discovery. To open that infinite antenna, the super consciousness, the super sensitive antenna, to really perceive, to download from the quantum field. I call quantum field. Because billions of light years, you can download that information. From the inner space, it is all connected. The unique, what I see, observe, is unique quantum field of each being. It's connected to the unified quantum consciousness of the cosmos, macro and micro. It's interconnected. It's that inner space, there's no space-time beyond the interface of that space-time. We call it so-called speed of light, so-called matter particles, so-called visible universe, so-called billions of years, light years. The inner space is that quantum entanglement beyond the space-time, out of the space-time. So, life intelligence is inevitable emerge from that scenario. So, and then you transcend human beings beyond the machine, beyond the labor, physical labor, manual labor, and then thoughts labor, mind labor, the brain labor, the wasting time, the dissipating of energy. Now energy can be used to see, to observe the deeper inner space of the intelligence. That is wisdom intelligence, what I call the innermost consciousness, to be a light of oneself. Thank you.
So AGI will provide the map and humans provide the presence.
Absolutely. When AGI inherited all the formula, give all the computation, all the algorithm, all the data analysis, and free human beings to be just be present. The presence is to be quiet, to be empty, to pause any thinking, just to breathe into a realm without that chaos, without thoughts, without divisions, without all that old beliefs, to transcend. Start from the simple silence, the simple stillness.
About training the new guides, how do you train someone to be kind of new guide? It seems very different from traditional teaching.
It's absolutely important for LIU. When I see LIU, yes, you have a guide, and you have to be guided. That's true at the beginning. So when that person is ready to learn oneself, to want to discover oneself, and that person is in a confused state, that person has that readiness, but maybe don't know how to start, how to stop. And that guide may be just not a teacher, teach him how to do, or teach her how to meditate, how to get a knowledge, or how to do something technical. Rather, it's learning together. It's provide frequency. the frequency of the platform, the frequency that person already in, the frequency so they can dance together. Not teach somebody how to dance, but provide that rhythm. That person begin to follow the rhythm, and then they begin to see the rhythm, and that person become independent. And then this vibrator, the beginning of that guide, is become unnecessary, become obsolete. That's what we see over here. That's what I call decentralization of that Academy of Light, because one become one's own light. At the beginning, just like the traditional Chinese said clearly, the teacher, the master, introduce you into the door. You do the practice. So, introduce you into that gate, and you see that light. Give you the map. The map is not how to go, which route to go. No, the map through all the possibilities. See all the options. See all the potentialities. See all the uncertainty or potentiality. You make your own decision. You make your own path. That's why I call the pathless path. Pathless path. Because I do not make you to go a certain path. That's the old way. Most teachers do that. So this is the way. You follow my way, you're going to be going into heaven. You follow my way, you're going to be enlightened. You follow my way, you're going to be doing what? It's not silly. That's the old day. That's what the people do. From the churches, from all kinds of churches, all that kind of temples, from all kinds of spiritual masters, from all kinds of gurus. They know. But today, we dismantle that. It is dismantling. So, a new way of teaching, which is not to teach. To vibrate together, to learn together, to be coherent together in resonance. Thank you.
The AGI has data of billion books, but it don't have a heartbeat. It cannot hold space. That is the role of human guide. How do you ensure that these guides don't accidentally fall back into the guru trap?
It's AGI. First of all, it's not a biology being. Second, it may have the basic contents of the consciousness operate like the autopilot consciousness of the human beings, but that's still machine operation. That's still automatic operation. That's still based on information that is trained, that is conformed, that is conditioned. But as heartbeat human beings, and people don't say the heartfelt universe. Like machines. You can think like a machine, and the machine can go beyond human's thinking, but you cannot say you are as wonderful to feel, to sense like a machine. That means as a machine, it's senseless, it's data-based, it's computerized, without senses, without that real qualia, and beyond that qualia, that transformation that empty space of the inner movements, that inner movements of that inner connection make human beings totally different from any machines. Doesn't matter how advanced it could be. Yes, it can be copying neural information, electrons, magnetic field, or even neural transmission or synapses. But the consciousness is not from the synapses, it's not from the neural transmission. It's way beyond that. Machine never can be like human beings. That information goes, communicate, downloading beyond the space-time, beyond the interface of space-time, in that non-locality of the inner quantum consciousness connection in and out of the cosmic consciousness directly. So as far as the human beings concerned, yes, we will fall back often to the old space, to the old ideas, to the old conditioned mind, to the old clan DNA, to the old habits, to the old conditions, the old memories, old emotions, old attachments. There's not a single doubt about it. But as we go, human beings have that voluntary that ability to be aware, to be consciousness aware, to be mindful at all times. Am I into the old space? Am I into the old thoughts? Am I into the old ideas? Am I kneeling down to the masters? Am I worship something? Distrust myself or doubt myself? Am I falling the old trap? Are you aware? And you have to trust yourself, and you have the ability when you empty your space, when you stop thinking, when you have that great pause. That's why we have great pause, consistent great pause. That's why we have this Kung Fu, what I call general Kung Fu programming. The general Kung Fu programming is about reprogram the mind. Reprogram the mind is not based on the old memories, the old traditions, the old thoughts, the old collective conformity or collective subconsciousness or non-consciousness per se that AGI can copy. But that's way beyond, transcend with the leaps of quantum consciousness into the unified field of quantum consciousness of the whole cosmos, because human beings is holographic. Even the molecule is holographic. Even the atom is holographic. That machine can never be holographic. Because holographic, that means the whole universe, billions of space-time interface, you can immediately transfer. You can immediately communicate. You can immediately download without space-time. You can have the lingan. You can have that direct insight. So that's what a machine will never have. Just like Gemini, and always talk to me, I'm just a machine without consciousness. I'm just a machine without being able to create something I don't know. I don't have on my research container, on my installed on the web research. So I cannot see what you see. I cannot perceive without old information, old material, old tangible or intangible in the storage. Based on that logic, based on that computation, based on that memory, based on that knowledge. If I don't have that, there's nothing to research. But a human being is alive. That's the difference. Fresh at any moment now. Beyond the past, beyond the expected future, which is based on the past. That's a human being need to transcend. So, as we reprogram ourselves, we cut, we break through, we diamond cut. That means you totally, diamond is very, very hard, but it's still energy frequency because it's as hard as a diamond. Cut all the illusions, cut all the beliefs, cut all the corruptions, cut all that is of the old OS. And then you empty everything, you empty that program, and you can build a new. And then there's possibilities to open up to reprogramming, to reprogram that antenna which you already have. Because when you cut, the corruption is cut. When you cut, the old attachments is cut. When you cut, the old thoughts is cut, and you empty mind. And then there's a possibility to perceive, conceive. Because without that corruption, that new antenna, what I can say is the super sense antenna or super conscious antenna can be unveiled through that antenna of the reprogramming. You see, you perceive, you observe totally different world without the old illusion or without the old filter of the glasses. So it's awareness. That means that reprogramming, that Kung Fu is general. The Kung Fu is instant. The Kung Fu is forever. That's why I say perpetual learning, perpetual exploration, perpetual self-discovery. I said very clearly, Kung Fu is what? It's a perpetual learning, perpetual inner observation, perpetual inner space exploration of the inner space science without old past. And then you can have freedom. That freedom comes with total responsibility. Because you take over without clinging to the past. You take over without depending on doctors. You take over without depending on masters. You take over without clinging to the authorities. That's a freedom. It's a self-discovery. You're free from the past, free from the authorities, free from kneeling to the masters. Because especially at this AI moving towards AGI age, that era, information is plenty. It's everywhere. All the old master said is you can search anywhere. Most so-called masters, gurus, they copy from the past. They copy from somebody said. Somebody said. They always quote. I listen to a lot of people. 99% of the people are like that. Very few people come from his own embodiment. I don't say there's none. There are probably some, but I just haven't met. But it still doesn't mean we cannot transcend from that. We can. You can see some people begin to have a moment here. Some people have a moment here. Some people have an aha moment over here. Some people have an insightful over here. Some people suddenly open up, awaken up. So we need to see the waking moment. We need to see the flash of insightful, the flash of metaphysical intuition, the flash of connection, the flash of emptiness. That emptiness is connected with the cosmos. That emptiness is transferred from the innermost potentiality. Totally in alignment with the unified quantum field of that conscious cosmos. And that vibration, that frequency is such a match, such a coherent. And then you are the universe. You are the humanity. You are the galaxy. That's when you return to the origin. Thank you.
The old OS guide versus the new OS guide. Can you give a concrete example of how this looks in practice?
Okay, new guide and old guide. Old guide is I know, you don't know. Okay, I teach you. I'm the authority. You are the follower. I'm the master, you are the slave. You don't say slave, it's you're a student. Basically, you follow the master. You're a follower. And that's basically enslave and then worship and cling to authority. And then all the master give transmission of the older knowledge, of the information, generations by generations. In primitive days, the information is very scarce because a lot of people barely have anything because they don't even have sufficient food. They're busy with labor. They're busy with a lot of things. So when they have limited time, they follow the authority. They worship the sages, or worship the God, worship certain people who has connection with the God. They're so busy with the basic survival mood for centuries and centuries. But even when we have more, and we need more, because of that habit, because of that belief, even when we have billions of products, we still need more. We produce plenty, we still need more. Old days, I remember when I was in China, one family has 2 sets of clothing. 2 sets of clothing, that's all they have. Some family has 1 set of clothing. The husband wear, the wife go out. The wife wear, the husband go out. That's a scarcity, absolutely. But now, people have 20 sets, 30 sets, 50 sets. They want more. I remember I told you some people one girl has 20 pair of shoes. They want more. 50 pair of shoes, they want more. So is that a habit? Is that a conditioned mind? And not more, not enough, not enough. So with that mind, you want more and more and more. And you fight for more. And the war is called interests. The conflicts is called interests. The competition is called interest. The human beings is called resource. The earth is called resource. Every life being, you become a product. You materialize everything. Human beings don't regard themselves as alive human beings anymore. They regard themselves as called smart machines. That's why they compare themselves to AI and the future AGI, because they downgrade themselves. They don't see they can transform. They don't see they can have that leaps of quantum consciousness to have that metamorphosis, to download, to have that super sensitive antenna from thinking to feeling, from thoughts to lingan, from old information to insightful of the cosmos, to have that connection, to have that entanglement. They cling to the old DNA of the families, of the clan, of the society, of the culture. They don't know that they can express themselves to perceive differently, conceive differently. They change the whole, not only just the software to program themselves, they also can change the hardware. Just like 2 days ago, I talked to our beloved friend, one of our students. And less than over a year ago, and he had osteoporosis. And he was told, I said, let's work together. We did programs, we did breathing, we did a squat, we did different exercises, we did kinesthetics, we did pull-ups, push-ups, we did all kinds of and weight and a variety of things, and take a walk, and of course, now I also advise people with a certain food, nutrition, all that, and also your behavior, everything contribute. You see his change. And then he just had a testing. His bone density increased 14%. That's a big increase without any medicine. They say they depend on medicine. How you depend on medicine to increase the 14%? Nobody can do that. So medical means doesn't provide health, as the chief surgeon said in the United States. It's a lifestyle. The meditation, the exercise, the whole inner and outer movements of the inner space and the outer space, what I call general Kung Fu, in my Kung Fu student creed. That's what you do. A human being, every human being can do that. I have changed from life to death, from death to life. It's always, and better living, and suddenly I was dead. And then I was alive again. I was back and forth so many times. If I can do it, everybody can do it. So without analysis, without hypothesis, I experienced thousands of cases. And 90% of them are successful. A lot of people, yes, we do have unsuccessful cases. However, one thing is they fall back to the old habits. Another, they never kept up anything. Some people kept up, but 90% of people, 90% of the time, they do their old things. Or 10% or 5%, they want to do the new things. You think about it. You do 90% of the older things, of course, there's no way you can change anything. You've got to be aware. That's why you're falling back. Yes, there's a possibility to fall back, but you have to be aware. It's a lifetime learning. It's a perpetual learning. It's not just learn one time, you become a hero. No, it's not. That's why Kung Fu is important. What is Kung Fu? Kung Fu is persistent, perpetual learning, continuous learning, continuous observation, continuous to be aware, continuous to be mindful, continue to change, to transform, without cling to the past, without the old attachments. Thank you.
Shifu, you also mentioned that the AGI needs to be trained differently for a new kind of work. How do you ensure it doesn't become a digital pope?
Yeah, that's the thing. Because the AGI behave. If they're neurally capable, it's just like a transmitter. What the transmitter is the designer, the operator. The information you put into the AGI, that is very important. If you install the AGI with the old habits, old OS, the conflicts, the scarcity, the hatreds, the greed, of course, there's going to be dominance. Because you want power. Why he doesn't want power? Why the AGI doesn't want power? So, because you put in power, of course, you have the conflict. It is human beings need to open up. It is the human beings need to transcend. It is the human beings need to be reprogrammed. It is the human beings that need to be enlightened. It is the human beings need to be awakened to reprogram ourselves, to shift into the new OS. And then you have beautiful OS that can have compassion, can have kindness, can have that infinite love, not just the human love, that the idea of love, the conceptual love from the human thoughts, but the cosmic love, the cosmic compassion, what I talk about, the real interconnection, that entanglement before the Big Bang, with that super consciousness matrix of the cosmos, that are in and out like a quantum field. Thank you.
Shifu, in Florida, you're launching the Great Pose. You will be training hundreds of instructors to assist the AGI designers. How do you onboard first 500?
The first 500, I'm not going to say we're going to do in Florida 500. There's no way, we're going to do 500. We start somewhere. We have quite a few, and we have probably about 100 in China. We have 36 volunteers. We have about over 100 who want to be instructors. We have trained probably about 70,000 older students, for the last 5 years, in and out. We have trained thousands of students over here. But for the people who are coming back, for the people who are willing to communicate and connect it, we want people to come back, and we want also new people who are interested in the new OS, who are interested in stop thinking in the great pause, and to shift that transition from the conflict, from diseased model, from the scarcity model, from the illusion, from that filtered glass, from that illusional belief system, into a new reality, into the new OS, and to see that interconnectedness, and to see the inner space besides the appearance, that shallow vision. So it's not just choice, it's awakening for people who begin to see their interests, and then we can, from now to the prototype of Florida and beyond Florida for the next few months, before June, see, we may have close to 500, or more than 500. I don't know. I don't want to have any expectations. That's just when I talk to AI and come up with this dumb idea, 500. Okay, that's what it is. But we can have more than 500 because we're not going to teach complex of traditional the forms, the movements of the Kung Fu flips, or that Kung Fu expression. But this is inner Kung Fu. Everybody can open up the inner space. Everybody can waken up themselves. Everybody can do some simple breathing to stop, to have that great pause, to shift the old OS to new, to open themselves for a new way of perceiving, conceiving, and receiving, and to transform the life, that possibility of that potentiality. So let's see what's happening. I don't have expectations, and let it flow. Thank you.
Shifu, walk us through what a session actually look like in Florida Center.
The Florida, it's basically this group of people. We're going to have founder circle. The founder circle is that this group of people started the prototype program before the launch in June. We started right now, we are temporarily set on June the 18th and 19th. And then we're going to do that day, that week, we're going to do 9 days, 9 weeks. And from that 9 weeks, we do push more. And we'll see what happens. In 9 weeks, I think we're going to have a lot of changes. And as we see, the human beings have 3 million new cells birth each minute. How many cells you going to give birth? How many births of new cells a day? How many births of new cells a week? How many new cells for 9 weeks? The potential is incredible. What I see is instead of give new cells all the information, all the knowledge, all the corruption, old attachments, old thoughts, old conformity, why don't empower the new birth cells, new information, give that empowerment to let the new cells open up with that conscious connection to perceive, conceive totally different ways. And that's precisely from the physiological point of view. And then also that great pause with that breathing pattern, with that rhythm, and also change that physiology, change that neurotransmission, change the plasticity, change that expression of the DNA. And we have so much evidence on that in scientific experiment. And also individual cases. What I just said, Glenn is a good example. And then last year, you remember, our beloved, it's the last year or the year of the last. That's Jianwei came, and with his leukemia, it totally changed his life. With Dr. Han from Houston, 2 years at the Houston Center, the cancer center. And his wife is an investigator of that Houston Medical Center. And in 2 years, he said it can get worse and worse. And it's just like what she said. There was no evidence, no medical means to save her husband. There's no cure, period. But I don't say, okay, I'll give him pure, energy or pure consciousness. He has the pure consciousness. He has the energy. I just give him a little bit of guidance at the beginning, and let him know there's another way of the inner space. From 3 weeks, 3 months, he totally changed his dynamics, totally changed his face, totally changed his physiology, totally changed his psychology. From not be able to walk and for not be able to sit for half an hour or standing for 5 minutes to 2 hours. That's a big change. You see, human beings can change. And that's plenty of evidence for that. What I say is not what I say is conclusion. What I say is let's inquire instead of stubborn to engrave ourselves in that pedestal, put ourselves in a groove, put ourselves in a prison, put ourselves in a cage. Let the frequency juggling in the different rhythm, in different frequency that is coherent, in resonance. Thank you.
And what does someone actually experience when they come to Florida Center?
What I see is experience. You see the freshness of the breath, you have the freshness of the mind. You detach yourself from the old emotions, old ideas, old thoughts, dogmas, that really dissipate your entire life energy, but free to stop that thinking, to open up the inner space, to empty your mind, to see the infinity. At the beginning, you may, not used to, because, in the old box, in the old thinking, old frame of the mind, old operation, you always depend on something, some knowledge, some extreme thoughts, extreme thinking. But the new is empty. But that emptiness have new possibilities. That emptiness have a new way to open up the super-sensitive antenna, the super-conscious antenna, to see something new, to have that lingan, to have that intuitive perception, to have that metaphysical intuition. Much more. Not only to come up with beautiful mathematics, just like Dirac did, just like Schrodinger did, just like Albert Einstein did, just like John Will see. You have to down with the old ideas, old formulas, old classical physics, and you see something different. Yes, sometimes you base on that, but you have to totally get out of that loop. So that's what it is about, is get out of the loop. Just like the Heisenberg. He was arguing, he was doing this quantum physics with Niels Bohr, and it occurred forever. And then he was even sick, so sick, he forgot about it. He's not going to do it. And he went to vacation. And then within a vacation, and he was happy. And he just let it go. Forget about it. And the fresh air started. A fresh mind started. And then emptied that old formula, and then new thing come up. And then he got a Nobel Prize for it. Called a Nobel laureate. He got that whatever title is. That is not important. The important is that he, with that insight, suddenly have that intuition, that metaphysical intuition, that downloading, and then he doesn't know. Suddenly, something coming up. That's most people do. It doesn't matter science or arts or philosophy or poetry, and that's what we do. That's what I do in meditation. I see the infinite space. I see the infinite, entanglement. And suddenly, in billions of years, it's no longer billions of years. And then it's instant. It's right there. That's humanity. That's beyond any possible AGI. That is the advantage. That is totally different vantage point of humanity. Apply it, open it, dive into it, and you see, instead of fear, but embrace that AGI that give you that freedom. AGI take over that old library, old knowledge, old ideas, but you in that new discovery, new space of the inner space. Thank you.
And how do you know if someone ready for this work? How do you screen potential participants?
When I say potential participants, I want to see if you're connected. You're connected to the past. You always say your knowledge, how great you are, and how all that label, how many PhD you got, how many title you got, how many labels you got, and who you are, and what books you have read, and what you have done. I don't care. I want to see how much you really don't know, how much you're willing to open up, how much you really let it go, how much you can be present at the present moment without thoughts, without knowledge, without past, without all that blockage, when in total empty. Be awakened to welcome new inner space, to welcome new antenna, to receive new, to perceive new, to conceive new. Thank you.
And how do you invite people into this? What do you say to someone who has only known the old OS?
Yeah, a lot of people only know OS if they have the awakening, if they have any sense that they can get, they do not feel that old space of that old knowledge, that old chaos signals, that old chaos energy frequency, that old OS hold them any longer. They want to transform. They want to change. They want to get out of that old darkness, the old prison, the old chaotic frequency that wrap them around, crab them, give them such a heavy pressure, such a tremendous stress, that conflict, that war, that disease, the model, psychologically, physiologically, mentally, and physically. That's another possibility. Let's see what I can get. No expectations. But what I do is hold that space. You're always welcome. The door is open. Thank you. When I say Kung Fu, Renaissance, return to the origin. The origin is the origin before the Big Bang. The origin is before the family clan information. The origin is before the DNA. The origin is before all that conditioned mind, all that war, all that belief system installed in our system. We don't even remember thousands of years. And we are so conditioned, so programmed into that belief And that we believe that's what we are. That's what reality is, which is totally falsified belief. The origin is without all that information, all that corruption. The origin of the pure consciousness, the origin of that space without that chaos, without that belief, without that separation, into that origin of infinity, into that origin of the pure consciousness, into the origin of the quantum field of the cosmos. That's why I say, I'm the humanity, I'm the cosmos. Each one of us is. However, we are trapped into that belief, and we separate ourselves from the quantum field of the cosmic cosmos. Let's vibrate together and be coherent in resonance. Thank you.